Okay, but then let's start. Yeah, so basically Mark already told what I'm going, briefly what I'm going to talk about, but it's gonna be, I would say, rather simple story. It's, it's based on my own experience, so there is no fancy book I read and then I just retell the story. It's my empiric experience only. And those examples and conclusions, what I make, are also my personal opinions. And I'm pretty sure there can be other opinions on the same topic. But before we start, I'm just curious that how many of you identify yourself as more like an architect in data domain? Oh, good. We have. Okay. But let's see. Where do we go? So basically what I'm gonna do, I'm just briefly talk 2 sentences about myself. Then I'm gonna describe a problem. What is this problem, architects versus engineers versus data platform? Or is it even a problem? Because, I mean, we should build it together to serve the business, so where is the problem? And then I talk about a bit those personas you can meet, or who I have met during this journey. And I'm grouping, let's say it so that I have worked in many organizations with many engineers and architects, and now I'm summarizing, putting them together into the groups, describe what they do, what they don't, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. And then I tell you stories. Stories are all like real life stories. I will not mention any company names or any person names because, I mean, Estonia is small, Scandinavia is small, like there is no need to point specifically, but I mean, yeah, maybe somebody recognizes something. And then let's make a summary. So what can we learn of or what I have learned personally of this exercise? And the only point of this slide is that I just want to point out that, yes, I have been working like in public sector, private sector, as a consultant, as somebody who is providing services, who is buying services, as a DBA, I don't know, I have even made dashboards. I'm bad at making dashboards. Been data engineer, database architect. So basically, a lot of different roles in a lot of different companies. And I have now, during last couple of years, thought more about like those patterns I have seen, because you encounter the same things over and over again, same problems, and also, which is very weird, sometimes I have this feeling that if I work with a new company, I will see a person. I have never met this person, but actually I have met this person in my previous companies. It's this grouping of people together. Like, this is very weird déjà vu. Like, you met somebody who you have never met, but you actually sometimes very precisely can predict how he or she acts. This is a weird thing. Okay, but what's the problem, or what we are talking about? So if we talk about building data platforms, so the main question always should be why we are doing it. And if we talk about engineers, I have seen quite often that data engineers tend to forget why are we building these data platforms, because they are so focused around technology. They want to build good solutions, technically perfect ones, or they want to use technology which is interesting to them, but there is always some business reason behind why we are building it. And sometimes even in bigger organizations, architects tend to forget why are we building those platforms. It's very simple. We are building it because someone pays for that, and money comes from business process. So if we build something which doesn't support this business process, then don't build it. And whatever you do, just come back sometimes and think that, okay, now I'm planning to do something differently or change something in this platform. Does it support this why question? Like, this is really important. And then the next question, of course, is what we are building. Is it like data platform can mean many things. Is it just a database, or is it a PI tool? Is it a database plus PI tool? Is it a data lake? So there are so many things you can build, and it has to, the answer comes from why. So if your company is small, don't build this rocket. at least at the beginning. You can build small things in a way which, as Martin already told previously, you can scale later if there is a need. So, but don't build everything. Like, you have heard that this technology XYZ is now a cool thing. I have to build it like this full-blown data lake. Usually you don't need it. And how is another topic which was also mentioned today, that there are so many ways. You can hire consultancy guys, you can hire your own people, you can buy a product. So there are so many ways, and we can see how engineers and architects sometimes look at the same question very differently. Their answers are very different. So who are those players we have in this game? It's of course oversimplification, but if you talk about engineers, so this grumpy senior developer, like, they have always been there. At least when I started in 2001 with data, there is always at least one, sometimes even more. And those guys are actually the backbone of your data team. So you should never underestimate how valuable they are. They have seen many things. Like, there is this, maybe somebody knows, if I look at this audience, there are not that young people here. So in early 1990s, there was this American death metal band called Autopsy. I don't know. I hope nobody knows. Never listened, I hope. And they had an album which name was Acts of Unspeakable. Those data engineers, the senior guys, they have seen those unspeakable things, what you can do and what you can't do. And this guy is, depending on the type of the company, sometimes this person can act as a architect as well. Although it's officially, he might not be, but he's so, or she is so good at what he's doing, or she's doing. So he has a lot of power, actually. And grumpiness is kind of typical feature those people have. And then at the other end, you have those super business-friendly guys. You can call them senior analytic engineer or business analyst, or somebody who is actually working with these business people very closely. And those are really valuable people as well, because very often they know the business way better than the business people by themselves. I have seen or at least at the same level, I have seen in many companies when sometimes business people have to ask that, how actually our process looks like? Because those guys, they see this end-to-end process as the first Andres told in the morning, this cross-team interaction. They have to do it day in, day out. So they are very good at it. Usually they are not architecting the platform, but they are very important players there. And then there is one, I didn't know how to phrase it, but sometimes some random data guys are actually deciding architectural questions. I have seen it, I have even maybe done it. This is not a good situation, but it happens sometimes, depending on the type of the organization. And it's free versus free. We have architects as well. So those are fresh and tech savvy. I would say that those are the people who are coming from usually either data engineering or some sort of infrastructure engineering background. They have still very good technical skills. They understand very well what the senior guys are talking. So according to my experience, those are the best architects to work with, like technically. If you are an engineer, just imagine, you're an engineer, you have to talk to architect, and architect actually understands the technology and your problem. This is really easy ride. From organizational perspective, those architects, you need other type of architects as well, but those are the easier to communicate with from engineering perspective. And then there are those long-term architects who have been architect for so long that nobody, or not nobody, but they had some skills. Those are fading away, because if you are architect, you do less hands-on, and you're doing more this, like you're modeling things, you're making, writing documents and making slideshows. So this is a very interesting thing because those fresh guys over time very often turn to those long-term guys, and they start losing their technical competence. But they are still valuable for the organization, because architects shouldn't go and fix your code. This is something what these fresh guys are sometimes doing, because they think they still are better than those engineers, and this doesn't work very well. And then there is one, okay, so my least favorite guys are those guys. Of course, they are necessary. The bigger organizations are working differently. You need those enterprise architects. They have very global view. They have read a lot of smart, very good books, and they have a very quite often they're really smart people, but really difficult if you put those engineers work directly with those enterprise-minded architects. And I have a story for that, why it's not working usually. So next set of stories are combining those three types of people, and let's see how they work together. Before we go there, we can make this check or control question that do those those people all have the same goal? Like in a nutshell, yes, they are there in this company to build the platform which supports the business, but there are so many different choices you have to make. Like Martin said, build versus buy. Simple question. If you ask from data engineers, they like to build more than buy, usually. Architects sometimes want to buy because it looks more simple, it's easier to implement. It looks on the architectural diagram, it looks so much better. In theory, you can get support from those vendors because this silver bullet store is open like 24/7. Buy our product, all your data problems are solved. Like, it's very rarely the truth, but architects sometimes like it because business likes it. Then technological elegance versus business value. Same thing, like engineers like technological elegance. They want to build something which is really good from technology perspective. Those business analysts, for example, or analytics engineer, they like to get the business value first, and technical things can come later. So there are, even within this engineering class, there is a, I would say, some sort of battle. And there is a safe choice versus innovation. So should we do the thing in a way which we know that works always, or do we try to innovate? This is more the question to the, usually more to the architects than to the engineers, because engineers are usually curious. They want to experiment, but should they always? Like, sometimes it's good if engineers are pushing architects. Sometimes it's other way around. Architects are seeing that the organization is lagging behind in some areas. They should push sometimes engineers, and very often some sort of let's say enterprise architects, or even somebody who has the budget tells you that we don't have time or money to play around with fancy technology. But let's go to the stories. Like the first story. In this story, I have been personally involved a couple of times, and always as a consultant. So this is like the disclaimer. The story is that there is no actual platform as such. The company is in a state where they do not systematically yet deal with data. But there is a need. Some people, usually business people, are doing something in a way they can or know. It can be that they are relying on some built-in reports, or they are struggling with Excel, or there is some fragments lying around. And then there is usually no architect. At best, you have a head of IT who has very little knowledge of systematic approach to the data. And then you as a consultant, the guy is hired. Your account manager said that they give us a very good hourly price. Go and fix something. And outdated technology, I forgot to mention, is quite often they're outdated in a sense that they start using something, and because they are not the company who are competent in data, they are using what there was 10 years ago, sometimes even older systems. And then you go there and imagine that you go there, you're alone, this with a high hourly price consultant, and then they are expecting from you that you're doing some miracle there. But can you? Like, there is no architect, there is no this term of data management. So you're usually, I give you one example. I don't mention the company name, but very often finance department is the one who hires you, and they want to fix you, not the data management or anything like that. Just make it so that either this report is faster or we don't fit the data anymore in Excel. It's actually, I have seen it way too many times. Like literally, they have expanded the amount of rows you can put into the Excel. So, and you are there with basically nobody supporting you in this organization. So you're alone there. It's a really tough choice. And what my recommendation is, you have to ask from yourself that, do you want to do it? And if you want to do it, why do you want to do it? Because there are some things you can learn. You can be this hero, but at worst case, you're stuck there for quite a long time. Because if you start doing something valuable, then yes, you prove yourself. You're there, you're valuable at that moment. But over time, you as engineer, you do not develop there. So you have to think about yourself as engineer as well. So what I want to say there is that you have to do this planning. And this is something, I don't know, maybe younger people are smarter nowadays than we were. But career planning is something nobody told me to do when I was entering this data domain. But you should always think, especially when you're a consultant, you're selling your CV. Like, if your CV looks like I fixed Excels 5 years in a row, then be honest to yourself. This is not something which looks very, very cool on your CV. And depending on the market, it can be really tough. Like if somebody has worked in Swedish market as a consultant, I don't know, maybe some of you have, then you can be a part of a big consultancy company and your CV is handed in. Your company has like, let's say you are Estonian company A, you have a deal with a Swedish company B, so basically they can hire or they can use you. They will not use you before they have evaluated yourself personally. You go through like this job interview. I have an example from one of my company where I was working in Solita then. 5 of us were offered, 1 was only accepted. So other guys were just, you're not good enough, you don't have this experience, you don't know those technologies. So you as an engineer, just think about it when you enter some projects. And if somebody wants to hire you and you are the first and the only data guy, again, there are opportunities to be this hero and you can develop to the architect even in this organization. But please make a conscious choice, because if you are there alone with any support and with any architecture, usually those things don't end well. The first version, whatever you build, is anyway scrapped. So just think about it if you face that sort of situation. So enter only if you have made a very good calculation and you can see why you personally can win from this situation. Especially when you don't own this consultancy company, you're just a hired person. It's your career you're playing with. The second story, it's a better story already. Again, have happened many times. There is an organization where, let's say, from business side, you have a very good product owner. They understand that, okay, we now have to build something proper. Let's do a proper customer management system, or let's do proper real-time reporting, whatever. This person, the product owner, is very competent in the business side and also understands the technology very well and wants to use either bleeding edge or modern technology in general. And it can be anything. It can be like, it used to be like, okay, let's start using cloud. It was really innovative step many years ago. Or let's start using the same thing like real-time analytics instead of this once a day batch processing. Or nowadays it was machine learning, it can be AI. Those buzzwords come and go, but the pattern is the same. You have a very good product owner, he or she has a budget and will to execute. Very good opportunity. And the first case was that I was there as a solution architect then, hired, because they didn't know this technology very well. And at first, it was obvious the organization was not ready, and what I mean by organization was not ready, that if you went and talked to the infrastructure guys that, okay, now we have a architecture where we start utilizing cloud, then infrastructure architects, of course, said that, what? Like, no, we don't use cloud. Because nobody, and now we go to this organizational complexity problem that business side was in business silo, infra guys were somewhere else, like nobody briefed them. So the product owner had a budget, had a solid architecture, everything was good at the paper, but then organizational friction kicked in. So how we managed to solve it this time was that, and it's in general, if you can show to those opposing guys, let's say they can be infrastructure guys or they can be security guys, that you're actually solving something for them as well. Like in this case, it was that the infrastructure guys learned that if they can start utilizing cloud elsewhere as well, and this very brave product owner was willing to be this, okay, I have a budget, I am this, let's make it as an example in our organization. I will pay the bills. Infrastructure guys saw the opportunity that they can enter this cloud world as well. And they learned that, okay, some things are faster there. They can do things more quickly. And they learned that business is happy when you do things quickly. So by talking to the people and solving their problem a bit as well was the key here. And it has been many times. It's not always going to work, as the first Andreas already said, because those different domains inside organizations, they don't very often talk to each other voluntarily. But this story we can like label as this, that you're a forerunner. And if you are a forerunner from engineering perspective, then you have to find architects who are supporting your idea if it's not this very small company. Like without the support of those architects, either an infrastructure architect, data architect, it can be security architect, whoever, you have to find enough of those architects who are supporting you. Because if you're just an engineer or even just a solution architect who wants to push their small application to the landscape which is not fit for that, you will not succeed alone. You have to find allies. And it's other way around as well, that if architects start pushing some new technology in, then if they do not consult with their engineers, it's not gonna end well. It's like, because change is something people are afraid of. Although I mentioned earlier that IT people are usually curious, even then, if the change is sudden and nobody briefs you ahead, and then all of a sudden you know that, okay, I was the person who was doing, let's say, I wrote Python or PL SQL, and then architect says that, okay, in our roadmap, starting from the next quarter, you are all gonna be Scala developers in Databricks. Something very similar have happened a couple of times. So in both sides, if you're an architect, do not like, or let's say it other way, talk to those grumpy senior developers. You don't have to talk to every developer, it's impossible. But these tech leads or key developers, you have to get them on board as well. So this is the story of forerunners. It is not always an easy ride, but it is very, like, how to put it, like it's very good feeling if you have executed first time something in this company, first cloud implementation, first real-time analytics. It really pays off. And also, as I mentioned, looks good on a CV. And there is another story, or third story, which is the one I think is most difficult even. I would say even more difficult than the first one, because it's about the corporations. So if people have worked inside the big corporations, and by big corporations I mean those 10,000 plus headcount companies like big telcos, big financial institutions, big manufacturing corporations, they work so differently. So how they work? There are insane amount of people. The hierarchy is insane, the depth of hierarchy, the complexity of the organization. If you look at the organization chart, you don't usually, at first, you don't understand how this company works at all. There are a lot of people, but very few decision makers. That's what I have learned. Like, you have to find the correct people, and how can you find those people who you should actually should talk to? It's very tricky, because nobody tells you who are the important guys, because there are usually like two layers. One is this official hierarchy, another one is this unofficial hierarchy, which you can't Google it, or you can't find it from internet either. So the outcome is usually that nothing gets done, everything is slow, you are frustrated, because the technology choices are made somewhere in the headquarters, nobody talks to you. Again, have seen decisions that, okay, starting from next year, I have seen it twice actually. It's not in Estonia. We used Azure for quite many years, now switch to AWS, or vice versa. Just because, why not? Because we made the deal. Or Tableau is now phased out, let's start using Power BI. Nobody asked any question from engineering teams, zero. Just take it or leave it. And the outcome is frustration, of course. And I have one last slide specifically for the frustration. The biggest source of frustration for me has been in these big corporations are those architectural committees. Honestly, if you have even a slightest option not to go there, then do not go there. It's not about technology. I think I have never had a situation where they are actually discussing your architectural questions. It's always about something else. It's about who I can make the rules, or there is some sort of corporate fighting going on. So if you're an engineer, don't ever go there. Like literally, because it's not your job. You shouldn't fight those battles, and you're going to lose anyway as an engineer, because they don't listen to you. Like, you can't win that. Okay. So just a disclaimer, don't go. If you're an architect, you have to go, that's another story, but as an engineer, never. If your domain architect says that, I'm sick, I can't go, can you replace? Say, no, you can't. Actually, I have even left one of not the company I was working as a consultant, I quitted this project because I had to go there, and it was impossible to get any gains. So what's the summary? If you are an engineer or architect, doesn't matter, but you always have to remember that why are you building what you are building, and who's the team around you. Just be a nice person, because it really pays off if you plan to have a long career in this domain. And try to understand your opponents. It helps you in many ways. I think it helps you also in the next companies. You're meeting the same guys, and it's not only Estonia, it's also in Finland and Sweden. You will meet those guys. So, yeah, behave. And from career planning perspective, do not make those unnecessary compromises. If you really don't want to use this technology, and your account manager tries to sell in, just say no, I will not go there. I have many times made these decisions that, okay, I'm done with this technology, I will not do any more those projects where I have to use this technology XYZ, because I want to develop myself as a data professional. So make those decisions wisely. And the last one is actually very important, that it's just a work. Don't take it too seriously. I'm really bad at it, and I admit that it can hurt you like really, really badly. This burnout is way more common, I think, than people don't talk about it. But if you have worked in like long enough in this data domain, you can see people are just, burning out. So it's just a work. Just take it easy. Easier said than done. Okay, so that was it.
Hello. Thank you. I guess we have questions.
Yeah, we have a few questions. Well, one comes from Martin. Wouldn't best engineers be also best architects? Given enough time from the actual development, does there have to be role separation?
I would say that the good engineers necessarily don't have to, or they will not be good architects always. It's about human nature. Like in late 90s and early 2000s, there was this typical mistake which was made. Like you had a bunch of programmers, and who's gonna be the manager of the programmers? The best programmer, of course. But no, like the nature of the people can be very different. Like if you are very good at technology, you're solving some very specific technical details, you enjoy it. But if you become an architect, you are solving different problems. Like as the first starter said, at the one end of the scale is like these organizational problems. But even if you're not the enterprise architect, if you're a solution architect, you're solving different things. So I would say it's not necessary that true that a good engineer becomes a good architect. The roles are different. In a smaller company, the separation of roles is unnecessary, not needed. But in the bigger ones, you have to separate them. And if you are an architect, you have to let go your inner engineer. Don't touch the code anymore that much. Don't go there and I will come and fix your pull requests. I have seen like when those architects are coming and, oh, show me, I know how it's done. Like, no, you have to let it go. It's a conscious decision. I'm architect now, I'm acting differently as well.
And how many number of people in data team, how many number in a data team before you need data architect?
Oh, that's a good question, because I think it doesn't even depend on the size of the team. It's more about the company. If your company wants to become more like data-driven, you need this role, regardless of the size of the. Because you can always hire consultancy guys to do some things for you, so you don't have to have it's not like 5 or 6 or 10. It's more. I think it's more about what you are trying to achieve with the data.
Well, it was first how many people you need before you need engineer, and then how many people you need when you need data architect. Or
yeah. So data architect comes always later into the picture. Like if you don't have any, like if the company is just starting their data journey, it's quite often the easiest way is to hire consultancy guys to set you up, as Martin also explained. And then you can start like developing your own data team, and the architect comes, it can come many years later. And but still I would say that there is no amount of people you have to, it's not like level 1, hire 10 engineers and then you unlock architect. No, it's not like that.
And when should a team have multiple architects?
Okay, this is a tricky question because it's a already organizational design question. But I would say that you don't need many architects, but what you need is that certain topics are covered. If you think about data, there has to be someone who is responsible of, let's say, data architecture in general. Or if you have IT systems in your house, somebody has to take care of the security. It's like domains. You have to identify the domains and then have, I would say, less is better than more, to be very simple.
Rainer, I understand this is very intriguing topic, but we are actually running quite in schedule here. So